on a definite schedule on this flight, so let's get in those shallow and steep banks and get the feel of the 47. Some low and high-speed turns, and check on your turning radius. Practicing your stalls, notice the amount of altitude you need for recovery. You won't be in any doubt about when the P-47 is going to stall. It'll let you know. Buffeting and sloppiness of controls are your stall signals. This airplane will drop straight and has no tendency to spin. Nose down to pick up speed. Let's have another one with wheels and flaps down. Up with the nose slowly. There she goes. Better check the stalling speed on your own individual airplane. Time to head for the barn. With your shoulder harness locked, you're making a clockwise check of the cockpit before landing. Gas selector turned to your tank containing the most fuel. Aileron and rudder in landing trim. Oil shutters and intercooler shutters in neutral. Propeller RPM at 2,550. Mixture control at auto rich.
Army 8283 to Pine Castle Tower. Standing by for landing instructions. Over.
Pine Castle Tower to Army 8283. Okay for landing. You're number 1 on number 4. Wheels down and locked. Over.
Wheels down and locked. Roger.
Canopy open. Cowl flaps closed. Check your flap equalizer. You want the rod to stick out 3/8 of an inch. At 1,000 feet, you're coming in on the base leg. At the turn, you're 600 to 800 feet. 150 indicated airspeed. Coming out of the turn, you're at 500 feet. Flaps full down. You set your 47 down on the first quarter of the runway. Here's how you look while you're doing it. Flaps coming down. Back on the throttle. You're establishing your glide about 120. lined up with the runway. You're coming in for a normal three-point landing. Smooth as silk. In the P-47, you don't lower your landing gear with your speed above 200. If your landing gear should fail to come down, get out of local traffic and find out what's wrong. To lower a stubborn landing gear, yaw the airplane. This should bring you in with wheels pulled down and locked. When you're making your turn for a landing, your speed is 150. Coming out, about 140. Never lower your flaps if your speed is above 190. If the flaps don't come down and there's no pressure indicated on the gauge, put the flap handle down and operate the hand pump. Be sure the landing gear handle is in neutral when you operate the pump. This pilot has come in too high and hot. If you should ever find yourself in this position with too much speed or height to land in the first quarter of the runway, pour on the coal and boot it out of there. Give it full power, but don't pull up too steeply. When you're above 500 feet, milk your flaps up. When you get some altitude, go around and shoot another landing. You're making this a good one, but remember that a landing hasn't been completed until you stop rolling. You're not riding your brakes. A little brake. Let them cool off. A little more brake. You're getting down to taxiing speed before you unlock your tail wheel. Get it unlocked before you start to turn. You're S-turning constantly to keep from chewing up somebody's tail. Cowl flaps open. Wing flaps retracted so they don't get nicked by flying stones. When you come into line, you want to leave your airplane the way you'd like to find it for an emergency takeoff. Parking brakes set until the chocks are under the wheels. Radio off. Clear the engine, 1,000 RPM, and then mixture control to idle cutoff. When the propeller stops rotating, cut the mags. Battery off. Fuel selector off. Rudder and aileron trim tabs to neutral. Flaps down. Generator switch off. Flight controls locked. You made it a good one, all right. You knew what you were doing all the time, and you didn't take anything for granted. You took all the necessary safety precautions for ground personnel, yourself, and the airplane. You kept your head up out of the cockpit, on the ground and in the air. You S-ed the airplane all the time on the ground. You used the throttle smoothly on takeoff. You got off the ground nicely. Felt pretty good, too. You glanced frequently at your instruments to see that temperatures remained in the green. You used your time in the air to feel out the P-47, to discover stalling speeds and turning radius. And when you came in, you made a proper turn and approach. That's a nice job of flying. The kind of flying that helps any pilot through transition and into combat.